Here is my mini lesson for Watcher at the Gate. Before students can begin writing in the classroom, they need to be able to confront their fears of not being a good writer. Every writer, whether inexperienced or experienced, has the fear of that their writing is not good enough. The Watcher helps put a face to this fear, and it helps students not only confront that Watcher, but eventually become a little bit more comfortable with not being a good writer. And then they start to accept that they are a writer. Now, they may not be the best writer, and their writing might not always be the best, but they start to identify themselves as a writer and become a little bit more comfortable with the process. The lesson. What I have my students do is they read and annotate the article called Watcher at the Gates. It is a little on the advanced side for high school, which is why I have them annotate. If they're annotating, they're thinking about what they're reading about. Once they finish reading and annotating, then I ask the class to have a discussion on what happened in this article. What does it mean to have a watcher? That usually takes about 5 to 10 minutes depending on how interested and invested they become with the watcher. Then after the class discussion, for their active involvement, I ask them to draw what their watcher looks like in their daybook. After they draw that watcher, I ask them to write about their watcher. What does it look like? How does it make you feel? What is it telling you? Here is my writing and my watcher. My watcher is always, to me, always looks like one of the Death Eaters from Harry Potter. That's because it's sucking the confidence out of me and my writing. I always fear that when I hand in a paper, especially to a teacher, it's always going to come back to me with a big red F on it. And I have to become a little bit more comfortable with the writing process, just as my students have to become more comfortable with the writing process. And ever since I put a face to my watcher, I have been willing to try out more styles of writing as well as different genres of writing. Whether it is for my classroom or it is for academic purposes, I've noticed that I've stretched myself more as a writer since I've identified my watcher, and that's what I'm hoping my students will take away from being able to identify their watcher. So again, why is it important? All writers have a watcher. That is, they have a fear that their writing is not good enough. Like I said, whether you're inexperienced or experienced. All writers have to learn how to confront their watcher. And sometimes it helps to confront your watcher by giving it a face. Once they give it a face, they become a little bit more comfortable with the writing process. Then they start to identify themselves as writers. And then eventually, even though it might not always be the best writing, they start to take more risks with their writing in the class, which is exactly what we're asking them to do. This is why I love the Watcher at the Gate.